All right.
All right.
Crossroads podcast number 67 with Jake Ryan
And James LaFountain.
and what do you always say on your podcast?
I'm your host, the ghost of podcast past.
Yeah. Is that from something or did you make that up?
I just made it up on the first one, and then I was like, what? Because I couldn't even remember what the ghost of Christmas past was about.
Uh-huh.
But it was like he was like showing Ebenezer Scrooge what he was like when he was a kid, and he never used to be an old jaded asshole.
I'm pretty sure the ghost of Christmas past was a girl, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I can't remember.
but I'm the ghost of podcast past.
That is dope. I really like that's clever.
I don't know. It just popped in my head, and because I was just trying to rhyme or something. But
Well, one day you'll look back on because I mean, it's pretty much if you upload on the internet, it's technically from the past, you know.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Yep. Also, I'm here to show everybody that it's okay to be a little dummy head.
I do like the name. Did you get a dummy head yet, actually?
No, I was looking them up, and they're um kind of expensive.
Like, wait, you're trying to get an actual dummy head?
Well, I'd like to get like a not one of those recording pieces of equipment, but like an actual crash test dummy head.
Oh,
But they have like cardboard cutouts and stuff. That's kind of what I was thinking when I was trying to get something for my wall. Because you were talking about like the Teespring or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And do you remember those fat heads, those commercials for fat heads where you could just
Oh
it's
yeah.
like a huge sticker you'd put on your wall?
Mm-hmm.
I think they have websites of those where you can just get anything.
Custom.
So it'd be cool to get like Danny Gonzalez. I think he's got one of him hitting an inhaler on his wall.
Um, damn, dude, my light over there is already going out on me.
Dang.
I just charged that baby fully the other day.
Mm-hmm. Batteries, man.
I'm pretty bummed out about that. It's part of my background
It does look hella cool.
when they're both upright.
Yeah.
You got a purple light going on over there?
Yeah, I got one of these like panel lights. You could change the color on your phone. It's Bluetooth.
Your purple light district?
Yeah, man.
What's
Yep,
going
yep.
on at the purple light
You don't
district?
you don't want to know who I got back there, man.
You running a little operation?
For legal purposes, I have to say no.
Oh, okay. You'd have to kill me if you told me.
This is all for entertainment purposes.
Oh, okay. That's the business you're running?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I just
Just
for legal purposes, I'm also not vaping in this apartment.
well, vaping I've always thought is kind of like one of those like gray areas where
Yeah.
it's like I thought it was like kind of an indoor thing.
Well, it's definitely not the same as smoking. These are no smoking apartments, but when I moved out of my last apartment, um I was a little paranoid because that was also no smoking, but they weren't like as strict. But when I was
Herb
moving,
or
just
cigarette.
smoking, probably
You can
everything.
smoke cigarettes in there.
No,
Yeah.
but when I
I
was
never had anybody complain about herb.
yeah, that don't really that don't really linger like cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
But some people are pretty wacky about the vaping.
Yeah, it's understandable. It was like it's it's not as new now, so people probably do write it into their like no smoking, no vaping,
For sure.
no personal escort services running out of your apartment.
Yep.
But
Well,
some rules are meant to be bent.
yep. For sure. Yep.
Uh, But I seen a TikTok of that the other day. Somebody's
Hmm.
like, I'm the landlord of these apartments, and apparently they're running some escort service out here. It's so like sketchy
Dang.
place, but I'm sure, you know, and the ghettos.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it happens.
yeah.
I don't know. Just for whatever reason, I thought my kitchen was like an eyesore.
I mean, it kind of is.
Well, I mean, I was thinking too. I mean, yeah, just for whatever reason, it's like,
Well, the more stuff in the background, it's kind of
hmm.
distract. That's why I don't like my background.
Well, yours is dope because that's your dedicated space. I see what you're saying though. Like, I was also thinking about because I have this extra monitor over here. It's just a TV.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about putting it in the background for my podcast,
Mm.
just to have something that's like maybe on a loop or just something
With your
you could
logo on it.
or whatever. Yeah, you could throw up whatever.
You could throw up, just throw up all over your TV
Hmm.
and just have like a bunch of vomit there.
Yeah, yeah,
You- People would probably be like tuning in just to be like, what the hell is that?
yeah. I mean, it would be cool to like freak people out, like, but just something else to look at because it's literally just a talking head, me at the camera.
Yeah, you know, I was watching this documentary about Spike Jones.
Yeah.
You know Spike Jones, right?
Hmm.
And so he's made like, skate videos, music videos, Jackass stuff. I don't know if he's actually made any like actual movies other than Jackass movies. Probably has.
I'm pretty sure he has. I don't know. You would
Well,
think.
did you ever see the Blind Skateboards movie Video Days?
I'm not sure.
It was an old one.
Hmm.
And it was like I think like early 90s
Hmm.
or somewhere in the 90s, but it like they had this intro on it where they're like cruising in the car and they wanted to do a shot of like the car driving off a cliff.
Right.
So they did the whole thing like put the car in neutral or whatever. I think you'd have to have it drive and stick on the gas,
Yep.
but make it look like, oh, they're driving, and then cut to the scene of it flying off.
Hmm.
And then cut to them like, oh man, that was a crazy ride.
Right.
So it got me thinking again about, making videos and just doing like really interesting stuff that, think outside of the
Hmm.
box. Because when I'm thinking about making new music videos, it's kind of people can do a lot of the same stuff over and over.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. Like, it's when you're just starting out, you're just trying to get good at doing the thing, and then you can get to a point where like, okay, I've done that. Like, and then you start trying out your different ideas and shit.
Yeah, of course nowadays I'll see even people just like, yo, it's them walking down the street rapping. And
Yeah.
some of them get like hella views. And it could just be upon the content of like the song or the person.
Hmm.
Um, which is cool, but I do love the really creative, weird videos.
For sure. Yeah, I've been just since I started this podcast, I've never really had like a YouTube channel. Kind of
Mm,
have, but not really anything where I like wanted to be creative with it.
mm-hmm,
But just since starting this podcast and then kind of watching a bunch of different videos on just like kind of how to grow your channel and just different tips and stuff like that, it's
mm-hmm,
kind of got me thinking about other videos, like just actual videos, not just a podcast.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, man, I think it'd be fun, dude. Like just really using what you have available to you, and making a video about that. And because I think YouTube is changing so much where, there'll be these different trends, and then people will do like Mr. Beast style challenge videos, and
Mhm.
or it'll be like vlogging was the big thing for a while,
Mhm.
and that's kind of like dying out, and so I think people are kind of getting to the point where they want to see like real shit, like real human moments, even if it is a video about some weird challenge, but so just whatever you're already doing or whatever you have available to you, like I think it'd be cool just to, I don't know, man, like I mean, all I do is fucking work. So it's got me thinking like trying to take videos at work and maybe make a video of like what I don't even know, but
You
it's
should.
got me thinking.
Well, I
Hmm.
take videos at work. I have a Crossroads construction channel. I try to
Yeah.
upload some stuff, and I have like Instagram for it. I have a Facebook page because it is my business,
Yep.
one of my businesses, but so I'll run like an ad for like at least $1 a day on my construction Facebook
Yeah.
page. It gets
Hmm.
out there, people like it or they comment from it or they'll send me messages. And it's
Yeah.
all to get leads, Um,
Hmm.
but it is cool to show people what you do. And it would be actually, I have kind of done some vlogging, but it would be cool to do more like normal vlogs instead of being like, my life is super exciting and I'm going to Hawaii and we're going to blow up a car.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just weird when you're just starting out and nobody knows who you are. Because there are a shit ton of people that like there's that uh Emily Chamberlain, I think her name is. She's huge on YouTube, and that's all she does. Like one of her last videos was just her making soup, but that's just because people love her, when she started out, I'm pretty sure it was more like doing the crazy shit. But what got me thinking about it was like when I tell people what I do for work, I'm like, yeah, I build walls, and they're like, what? Like people can't really picture that, So I kind of wanted to like document that and be like, this is how you build a wall, like how to build a wall, But people click on that, and then it'll be like maybe telling a story or some funny moments or whatever.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it helps people to like understand who you are.
Hmm.
And I would check it out. I think
Yeah.
I think what I'm gonna try to do more is be consistent. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things where with podcasting, I'm like, man, if I just had like a podcast, even a short one that released every single day,
Yep.
that's even just 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Our listener base, subscribers, they'd all grow so much because there's some channels I just look forward to every day.
For sure.
And then there's
Well,
ones that only upload like once a week.
yeah. And there's also channels that, upload once a month or, every 5, 6 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
They might have an elaborate video. Like, yeah, I would like to do stuff like
yeah.
that where it's like, yo, these are the quickie videos,
Yep.
and then this is like, even if it was like a weekly vlog video, like, yo, this is how this week went, not just like my day. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd like to break things down into those where it's like, hey, here's a project that took a month to make.
Hmm. For sure. I've always wanted to do like documentary style filmmaking,
Like about what?
I don't know. I mean, just about people, people's stories or I mean,
Like stuff you would actually film or stuff you would like find pictures and videos from the internet and then do a commentary on that.
well, it could be both. I think that would be a pretty easy way to like kind of break into that because there's a ton of channels that are like just like that, and I watch all that stuff. Um,
I think
But I
if you
think
did,
it'd
what?
be oh yeah, I was just gonna say I think it'd be cool to do stuff that I actually film and put together and interview people and shit.
Well, one thing I've always wanted to do is stuff about like Montana and like the strange things
Mm-hmm.
that are kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
I think other people might be interested in that stuff too. Like if you're like Bigfoot in Montana or just like the cool places. If you
Mm-hmm.
could actually go to the places and then, go to the place, get your experience, get some footage and some pictures, then get stuff from the internet and some of the history
Mm-hmm.
about it
For sure.
and make a cool video about that.
Yeah, dude. Montana's kind of a weird spot because it is one of those like flyover states. Not a lot of people really know about it. And it's, some of the stuff that you see on the internet is mostly about like the glacier park and just the different outdoor stuff people do
Mm-hmm.
around here. But I've never like I love that stuff, but I've just never really done a whole lot of that. And so for me, like my Montana is more about like, skateboarding and the music stuff. And like you said, just like the weird places. And, but it is, I think, fucking everybody lives here, dude. Like, um, the designer at work said he was designing a guest house for Maury Povich. And, everybody's got a place out here. Like, it's
The
such a
black
huge,
dude from the talk show on TV.
he's not black.
Oh
You're
wait,
thinking of
Maury. I'm
Montel.
thinking Montel. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Same,
Maury
same
though.
vein.
You are not the father.
Yeah, dude. I
That
mean,
guy. Yeah.
David Letterman's got a place out here. Fucking John Mayer,
Oh yeah,
um,
dude. I'm trying to freaking.
Logic. Pretty
Yeah, there's
sure
probably
Logic lives in like Whitefish or something.
yeah some area around you like Kalispell, Whitefish area,
Hmm.
and I'm sure there's a bunch of people like that that like lay low that they're like, yo, I don't even want
Oh,
people to
for
know
sure.
I'm living out here in Montana.
Yeah.
And I have I had to learn to love Montana again because I love home, but it really was one of those things where I was like, I gotta get out of Montana.
Hmm.
And traveling is as long as I can travel some, like going to California, going to LA, that was a good time.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other places I want to go visit, but it kind of made me fall in love with Montana again
Hmm.
because you kind of get a little homesick, but I feel like these if you had like a channel that was about, your life in Montana and stuff like that, it might make me personally go out and adventure more.
Yeah.
It would give me a reason to be like, okay, I'm gonna go out, make a video, and go check out one of the historical sites in the area.
Yep. For sure, dude.
Otherwise, I might not do that.
Yeah. I think I think if there was a good idea, like if I had a good idea that was like, because one thing that I learned from watching like Mr. Beast and stuff, like he will start with the title and a thumbnail.
Mm,
So like he'll start with the idea first, and like if it can make a good title and a good thumbnail, um, and it's something people are going to click on, then you can go from there and then go make the video. Which
that's
I think
true.
is I like that idea, like because I'll do that with music and stuff sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, I'll be like, what's a good song title, and then I'll just kind of write based off of that. But yeah, dude, I mean, I think there is a huge kind of like opportunity or like a huge open area where there's not a lot of people doing that. And like we already live here. So it wouldn't be that hard to travel to like wherever, some ghost town or
That's what I do want to do. Ghost towns, the mystery house of mystery places.
hmm
Yeah, like the haunted locations, maybe like UFO stuff. I'd like to go to Great Falls and be like, all right, man, we're gonna go interview some of the UFO sighting stuff, or even
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, stuff like that. I do got a friend that's got like a ghost hunting thing going on over in Butte.
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember the name of it right now. Paranormal something, but yeah, dude, you can like buy a ticket to go do his thing at like a brothel,
Right.
and he'll supply you with all this like ghost gear. Super dope.
Right.
Speaking of ghosts, my light went out.
Oh shit. Dude. I was having some pretty fucked up dreams the other night.
Oh no.
Like, you know how I was telling you I was going to sleep with like those frequency YouTube videos?
Yeah, binaural
And
beats.
yeah, and then I'm like, some of them it'll say they have subliminal messages in them.
Like
And
hypnotizing for success or something.
yeah, but then I was thinking, I was like, man, they could be really saying anything, you know? And so the other night I was trying to find one and I'm like being real like careful what I pick because I'm like, I'm gonna be sleeping with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the other night I was having this dream and it was I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was not good. It was like some like demonic shit.
Oh,
Yeah, dude. And it was freaking me out. And
wait.
but then
Can you elaborate on it?
it was just like I really can't remember. I wish I could, but it was kind of like haunted house type stuff. And there was just like this entity that was really fucking with me. And yeah, I wake up and it was like this kind of it was just one of those videos, you know, but it was just like this butterfly and it was like real dark and kind of had this like moving stuff around it.
Was
But
that
I'm
the
like, I don't
one you
know.
chose, or did it move on to another video?
Yeah, I moved on to that. The one I chose was like some like Buddha love frequency or something, you know. But
Oh, it just like
yeah,
made its way down like a dark path.
something, dude. And the night before that, I was having this crazy dream where I was like in a war zone and it was just ton of people, ton of soldiers, you know, and like I guess I was a soldier too. And we were like in this bunker and it was just full of dudes. And then it was like you know those like the A-10 Warthog. It's like a fighter plane, but it's like the one of the biggest ones they got.
Hmm.
And it's like just the sound that it makes is like so fucking scary, dude. Because it's shooting like a million rounds per second. Um, but anyways, one of those planes started like shooting up this bunker, and just all I could see was just people just getting torn up in front of me, you know.
Oh,
And yeah, dude.
dang,
So
bro.
I know. I was telling my cousin this the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, Corey's been having some messed up dreams," and I told her to put crystal under her pillow, and I'm like, I'm gonna try that because I've fucking been having some messed up dreams.
Hmm.
So I tried it, and last night I was dreaming about like feeding the homeless in a soup kitchen.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Wow. I
And
guess
like
I'm
my
gonna try it. I'm gonna experiment with it.
yeah, it was like a totally awesome dream. And like I even came up with this melody in my dream that was like I just wish I could remember it because it was like the perfect melody. But yeah.
Wow, dude. That's pretty crazy. But there is something about the frequencies of like crystals and objects,
Hmm.
especially natural ones. I don't know. And people that'll be like, I sleep with like EMF stuff. So they're like, my phone doesn't send out these electromagnetic
Yeah.
fields that intermingle with my human
Hmm.
electromagnetic field.
Well,
Aura.
just like we were talking about the other day, like talking about starting one of those channels, you know.
I
And
I started the channel, but my video, I didn't like the video I made.
well, that's what I was gonna say is, you know, I'm not exactly sure that these people that are making these videos know exactly what they're putting out. They might just pick some random frequency and call it love success motivation, you know, and it's actually like
Poop your pants. No.
yeah, or fucking dream of demon entities.
Maybe they do that and because they're like evil and they want to like mess with
Right.
you.
That's why I don't really trust it, you know. I would rather, I mean, because there is something to that, you know, and um I would rather do some actual research and try to find something that is like
The-
substantiated and it actually does higher your vibrations, or you know.
Well, I found a website and I think I saved it. There's like a list of frequencies
Mm-hmm.
from like 0 hertz all the way up.
Yeah.
And it also went from the hertz of the frequency to musical notes
Right.
and how they all correspond, but then also how they correspond to the organs in the body
Yeah.
and the chemistry in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I got pretty into that, and then I would track down some of these different frequencies, but I also found a thing online to make frequencies. So
Yeah.
it's like just a bzzz, and then you can adjust the level to be like, I'm going to 432 hertz, whatever.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that is interesting, but again, I just like I didn't stick with it enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like those ones where it's literally just the frequency, you know, because some of them will put like music behind it and different chimes and shit. But
Takes
those are all,
away from the
well, they're all different frequencies, like you're saying, like like the 432 hertz, that's just a C note, you know, and so every note is a specific frequency, you know.
Oh, especially what octave,
Mm-hmm.
because it would be a different frequency in a different octave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what
I think
I love about, and that's why I was like, dude, sometimes I really get that, like, or I desire to make music that, like, intelligent and pristine, where it's like, dude, this beat I made is literally, like, designed to do this to you.
yeah.
With the
Well,
808 frequencies at a certain thing, and then the hi-hat frequencies or whatever. You know?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, like it goes deep. Um, and I think that's the reason why we associate different keys and different scales with different feelings, you know. And that's kind of what music is, all it is really, is like these different frequencies that are kind of battling and kind of, you know, ebbing and flowing. And, you know, like a scale wouldn't, the only reason it makes sense is because it's relative to each note, you know, like, and like the relations between notes. Like if you got a 1 and a 3 and a 5, that makes up like a minor chord, you know, and if you switch that 3 to a 4, it's a major. So it's just the relations between notes and how they like harmonize or disharmonize that will give you a certain feeling.
Oh, dissonance is a
Yeah.
cool thing to play with for music that I've recently been experimenting a little bit more with, like guitar chords,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like I find myself using a lot of standard chords.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, if I just add, you know, the certain, add the fifth, add the
Yep.
seventh, and do these little things to just change it up, change the sound. That's what I think like Paul McCartney and you know, John Lennon and George Harrison, like the Beatles, were just really good at choosing like really cool chords and
Mm-hmm.
chord progressions
For sure.
and the melodies on top of that. I was like, dude, man, that's why they're so um big, I guess.
Yeah, man. Well, just like yesterday, you know, like that's the story of that song, is he dreamt that melody and woke up and figured it out on the piano and was kind of asking everybody he knew if he stole that from somewhere or where it came from or whatever, and he just dreamt it.
Hmm.
That's why I wish I could remember that melody in my dream, because like in my dream I was singing it over and over again, and it just felt so good to sing. And like in my dream I even went outside and was like trying to record it on my phone.
Hmm.
But yeah, dude, like um that one like finger picking song that I came up with, that's how I did it, was like with that guitar tuner app. It has like a list of all these different chords,
Hmm.
and I'm the same way, like just the chords that I know or just the basic chords. I might know a couple different like jazzy type chords. But I was like, man, I really want to make something that's all just these different, major ninth and sustain and augmented different type chords, because those are the ones that are most interesting, and yeah, dude, I fucking that I mean, honestly, that piece that I came up with is probably like it's one of my favorite things I've ever came up with, just for that reason, it's because
You
it's
haven't released it.
no, I mean, it's just a chord progression.
Well, even instrumental music is really good to release. I'm sitting on some right now that I want to release. I don't
Hmm.
know. I get so in my head sometimes I'm like, no, dude, don't. But I want. Like I made one that's kind of some shaman. Like I'd play the hand drum
Right.
and like some shakers I have, like actual instruments,
Hmm.
and then play some like psychedelic guitar. I'd get a little experimental with the synth pedal,
Yeah.
octave pedal, maybe some didgeridoo,
Yep.
and just make like freaking 7 to 12 minute like psychedelic. Like I'm just literally just like zoning and playing guitar. It's not like really structured,
Yeah.
but I was like, well, I just want to design this album to people want to listen to some psychedelic background music.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's cool about like just jamming, is there's no real like purpose to it. And sometimes when you're sitting down to make something, you kind of have this purpose in mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make this type of song, or I'm gonna make this song to put on my album or whatever.
Right.
And really like it's kind of like anti it's like the antithesis of music to is to have a purpose, really the point of music is just to just to be and just to have a flow. There's no real like, I mean, it's just if you take like the commercialization out of it and like the content creation out of it, like, you know, um, you could really make some cool shit.
Well, yeah, I agree. It was I heard Ozzy say it recently. He has a new album out.
Hmm.
Patient Number 9 is pretty dope. I like it. And I heard John Frusciante, guitarist from Red Hot Chili Peppers. I heard them both say it once before, something like when I go into like write a song or play some music, I am more of the like receiver or the transmitter or something where
Hmm.
it's like Ozzy was saying something where he's like, I believe the song already exists somewhere, and then we are just used to bring it to life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like if you if you dream of a piece of music, like where does that come from? Like you're not necessarily writing it, you know? I
Yeah, I don't
mean,
know where it comes from. That's the beauty of it. Like,
yep.
that's the mystery of life. And it's like one of those things I don't know. And that's why I was so fascinated with like psychedelics, is because I was trying to find the answers
Hmm.
and be like, what is in the ether?
Yeah.
If you could touch the ether and bring something out of it,
Hmm.
or it's tapping into your Like if you make music that comes from the soul,
Yeah.
and when people are like, man, that person plays with so much soul,
Mm-hmm.
and it might just be like, and
Yeah.
then you hear somebody and they're like, that it's like mathematical in the mind. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh God, it's so hard for me to like listen to some of that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's all subjective too, but it is definitely a different feeling, you know, because some of that shit you're more like, that's impressive that like he could do that with his hands, you know.
Definitely.
But as far as feeling it and like shit that will like, hit you in your heart and soul, it's some of the simplest music, and you could kind of tell that where that person was at when they were making that. They weren't even thinking about like impressing anybody or writing the best piece of music. And then they do, you know.
Yeah. The one note song.
Yeah,
Tenacious D.
for sure, dude. I mean, I've been having this thought in my head where like I kind of want to just sit down and make like bad music. Not something where it's intentionally like screeching and just noise, but like something where I'm just fucking around and I'm like, I'm gonna make the dumbest song. And
Well, the
then,
thing is, it'll probably come out sounding cool.
well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Cause like a lot of the stuff where it's like, I'm not making this for like young signal. I'm just gonna make something super experimental and just fun, And then most of the time that comes out way better than any young signal shit. Just like that
Well,
finger picking song.
you know, that's kind of what ultimately I think that's like almost the genre I would consider myself to be in.
Hmm.
I mean, because I'm like, I like to make all kinds of music, but it's really experimental because I like to experiment with different things. And I remember when we were playing Chemical Berry Avenue,
Yep.
uh, I remember Cody Nash saying that,
Yeah.
saying, our music's like experimental.
Hmm.
And I just thought that was cool. I've even been thinking about writing a song or something called Chemical Berry Avenue.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I looking
Got to
up?
get the
Oh,
band back together though.
for sure. I mean, I just imagine what we'd make now, dude. Like, it would be pretty fucking cool.
Well, I was just talking to Cody,
Hmm.
virtual texting.
Right.
Have you talked to him in a while?
Mm-mm.
He listens to the podcast. He commented.
Right on.
Um, but he's married now.
Yeah, I think so.
They are pregnant now.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, wow, isn't our lives changed so much? And I'll still flash back to the basement. I was playing a song the other day that I wrote about the band. I'm gonna release it on the new album probably.
Hmm.
It's a really old song I wrote.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's about our band back then. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's called Good Old Boys, but I still want to make a Chemical Berry Avenue song.
For sure. Yeah, dude, that's that's pretty cool. I mean, I think it'd be cool because like I wasn't really like really writing any like music back then. I was just doing
Hmm.
drums.
That's when you started drumming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was playing guitar at that time, but it was mostly I wasn't writing anything.
Well, that's when I started writing a little bit more. But I was like, when I first started playing guitar, obviously it was all about learning.
Yeah.
But once I learned a few chords, I was thinking about my first song I wrote the other day,
Hmm.
and it was I knew like three chords, and it was D, G, and it was this other weird D where it's like a backwards D.
Yeah.
And it was my cousin's guitar, and
Hmm.
we wrote this song that was like, it was like, I see you sitting there, sitting all alone. I wish I could show you the feelings that I've never shown. Or
Uh,
something, you know, it was about like a girl in school you want to talk to.
right.
But yeah, we played it for like our family on Christmas, and then that's when they decided to buy me a guitar.
Yeah. That's
How did
awesome.
you get into playing guitar?
I got into it was music class in at East Middle School.
I was in that class too. Miss
Yeah.
Halverson,
Yep.
dude. I thought she was kind of hot.
For sure, dude. Yeah.
And so
I
was her
remember.
daughter.
Yeah. I remember because we were taking just normal music class, which was like you just sit and learn about, different historical musicians and just like the notes and all that. But then we had a different section that was like part keyboard and part guitar. And
Mm-hmm.
I really got into it. Like I asked my mom to get me like a first act guitar at Walmart, and I would just like practice. Like the first thing I ever learned was like, oh, Susanna or some shit, and I was learning like the Mario theme
Susanna,
song.
Susanna. Damn, that's a hard one.
It was, dude. But I was really into it and I was really like adamant on learning, and I even played like the Oh Susanna in front of class because she thought it was cool that like I went home and continued to try to learn.
So your mom did buy you a first act.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so
Nice. From
my
where?
first from Walmart, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude. So my first performance was Oh Susanna in front of the music class.
Dang, I bet those chicks were like, dude, he's gonna be my boyfriend.
No, they weren't.
Uh, well,
They're like, this song sucks.
they're like, fucking show off.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that class and we learned Smoke on the Water.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure we learned Iron Man as well.
Hmm.
And then the next step up from that was Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah.
So those were kind of the boom boom bam boom boom bam boom that
Yep. Yep.
um and so those were like the first riffs I learned. And I've showed Hendrix, I'm like, all right, you're gonna learn how to play Iron Man.
Yep.
Just the 0 3 5 0 3 6 5.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, that is really like the first thing everybody learns. It'd be crazy to write something like that is so like ubiquitous that they just teach it in every music class, and
dude,
even people
legendary.
that don't know how to play guitar, they pick that up and that's what they want to play.
Yeah, it's like the forbidden riffs in guitar stores,
Hmm.
which I never play Stairway, but
Yeah.
I did like a joke. But I realized that Sweet Child of Mine is also one of those forbidden riffs, so I'm not gonna play that there anymore. I did that, and then I
I
was like,
mean,
blasphemy. No.
really, it's if someone's getting mad at that now, like you're stupid because it's not like you really have to listen to that all day, every day, like it was when the song came out, and people were really doing that.
Did you ever hear the original Stairway to Heaven song that they were like, they ripped us off?
Yeah.
Toto?
Hmm.
Dude. Dude, that's another reason why I like kind of lost some of my love for Led Zeppelin. And they're legends.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just, and I'm like, Jimmy Page is a legendary guitar player.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't really like if you're not stealing as an artist, like there's a book called How to Steal Like an Artist. Um, people get so hung up on that. Like, I remember when I was living in Pablo and I'd be trying to make music with Alex solo,
Hmm.
and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I don't really listen to rap because I don't want to steal these words or whatever. And I'm like, dude, it's words. Like if you're stealing a whole bar, that's one thing, but if you're using the same word as somebody, like you're gonna get hung up on that. Like there's no original idea, it's just even if you do just same with covers, like I was talking about that. Some of these cover songs that I know, I haven't listened to the original in so long that it's just morphed into the way I play it. And so it literally is the same exact song, but it's not because it's
That's what you
my
should
version of
record
it.
and release covers,
Yeah,
or get the licensing as
right.
well. And that's what I had to learn to do that as well. Stop trying to play covers exactly,
Hmm.
and give them like a new kind of twist, make it original. And I even had to kind of stop, like, I had to start using my own original voice more,
Yeah.
tap into that. But yeah, one of my homies said something about, I had a lyric in this song, Fun in the Sun, that it
Hmm.
starts off with, I'm going back to Cali, Los Angeles,
Right.
and he was like, dude, you're gonna get sued. That's Biggie, that's Notorious B.I.G. And I was like, well, I'm not really stealing the lyric. It's more of like an ode,
Yeah.
and people will know that. Like
Yeah.
if they're like, dude, he stole those lyrics and he's trying to make them seem like his own. It's like, no, dude, it's like those are the best things about writing. Like even in that song alone,
Hmm.
I have so many little things in there that are like entendres or references.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of writing as well.
Hmm.
One form of writing, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's I mean, I think it's good to let your inspirations show, and because if you're hiding it, that's kind of just as bad, like I mean, I think
Let
like
your
I said,
light shine.
yeah, dude. And like I said, even if you do try to do it exactly the same, it's not going to come out like that. It's going to come out different because you're a different person, and
Dude, that's why cover bands, that's why I'm not into some cover bands, because I'm like, dude, you're trying to play Don't Stop Believing like just like Journey. And
yeah.
that gonna
Uh-huh.
you're never gonna equal Journey. Even like tribute bands, like I seen a Led Zeppelin tribute band.
Yeah.
I was on acid.
Hmm.
So I was kind of like, oh, this is good, it's kind of tricking me.
Right.
But I was just like, no, dude, this is weird. It's weird that you're like, you gotta dress up like them and
Yeah,
maybe even wear a wig.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, but it's
Yeah.
like that in all art, movies and shit. Like, I was watching something on YouTube about, and what was it about? It was can't remember the movie, but it was just showing all these different shots that were basically like direct recreations from these old movies.
Mm.
And it was some big movie that everybody knows, but unless you're like a real fucking film nerd, you wouldn't know that this one shot is basically taken, and it's
Recreated.
yeah, and I think it's important to do that type of stuff, because if you get so caught up in just totally creating something 100% original, like you have to be like a real genius to come up with something that's gonna be good.
A real genius. Maybe a real boy. I just watched Pinocchio, the new one.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it? The new one?
No.
Disney Plus. Tom
Hmm.
Hanks plays Geppetto.
Okay.
Kind of funny because people are like, Tom Hanks is a pedo. I'm like, oh, now you're
Right.
Geppetto? But but
Right.
that was another one that they recreated, like a lot of the same exact shots from the Disney cartoon.
Right.
And the Pinocchio is like a computer generated
Yep.
boy, but or marionette or whatever. And yeah, I thought it was really cool how they did a lot of that stuff. Obviously, they added new things, but
Yeah.
it was nostalgic
Hmm.
and really cool morals to the Pinocchio story
Mm-hmm.
that I like.
For sure. I was thinking about just different tattoo ideas, and I want to get a um Jiminy Cricket tattoo.
Oh, your conscience?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know. Because a while ago my dad had me draw him a picture of Jiminy Cricket, and he's
Oh
got it
yeah?
hanging up on his wall. Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I love Jiminy Cricket
Yeah.
because he was
Wish
like,
upon a star.
when you wish upon a star. I'm gonna get a copyright. No.
Yeah, for real.
Um, but yeah, dude, it was cool how he was kind of like a vagabond cricket. Like he's like, oh,
Yeah.
new house now.
Yep.
And then it's like the blue fairy's like, well, now you have a purpose and you're gonna be his conscience. You gotta make sure he stays out of trouble, makes the right choices.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that was cool. And the whole metaphor on Pleasure Island when the boys are like smoking and drinking and destroying property and
Yep.
then they turn into jackasses.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah.
cool story.
For sure.
What is your shirt you got on? Is that airbrush?
Yeah.
Aaliyah?
Yep.
You got a crush on her.
I do.
You got a few Aaliyah shirts, huh?
It's two. I got two. I
Speaking of
don't know.
pedophiles, R.
They just
Kelly.
call out to me, man. Right?
She married R. Kelly when she was like 15, right?
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, it's a fucked up story, man.
Yeah. Well, R. Kelly is fucked up. You ever see his movie,
No.
Trapped in a Closet?
Oh, that's like a series
Yeah,
of
the 8-part thing. Yeah.
it's not like 13 parts or something.
Yeah. And my favorite, like the part, I was like doing graphic design and I had it like playing in the background on YouTube.
Right.
I wasn't really watching it. And then there was this one line, and he's like, I was just like, this is so funny. It gets so emotional, and the story is fascinating. And then it'll have all these waves of up and down emotions. And then he's like, and then something about Bridget. And they looked under the sink in the kitchen, and it
Yeah.
was a midget.
I mean, it's like some of the best unintentional comedy.
Dude, for real. And then that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah.
And yeah, anytime there's something like when people are like, I'm waiting for a package, I'm like, the package?
Yeah.
Uh,
I need to rewatch that shit.
yeah, I was thinking about it the other day because he's like, at the end of it, there's like the pimp and stuff. And they're like, wait, was the package AIDS?
He says that?
Yeah, so it's like ultimately, spoiler alert, that's what the package is in the
Right.
show. They're like, oh, the package? It's the package, blah, blah, blah. The package is AIDS.
The fuck?
You know,
That
R.
man is
Kelly, he's
crazy.
probably worried about getting AIDS.
Yeah. Obviously.
Strange, dude.
For real.
But I believe I can fly, man.
Yeah. And what was the other one?
I don't know.
This is like biggest song. I'm blanking.
Oh, I can't remember it right now. But I heard,
Oh, Ignition remix.
oh, I don't remember that.
Remix
But
to Ignition, hot and fresh in the kitchen.
oh yeah, I thought that was Nelly.
Nah.
Oh, but I heard H3 podcast making fun of one of his songs because they're like, it was like, do you have your shots? Do you have your passport?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this shit is just his way of making music was almost just like speaking to people and like
Hmm.
talking and telling stories, but with this really like R&B singing.
Right.
So interesting.
For sure. It's kind of a lot of the way like a lot of like Blueface and like Babytron, how they rap, you know,
Mhm.
real like off kilter, not really on the beat necessarily. It's just it's kind of like that. Like E40 does a lot of that type of shit.
Dude, I've been working on that because I'm working on some new songs, and say I'll have all these lyrics, right? And then I'll have a beat, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to fit these words into the beat properly. You know,
Right.
where do you want the syllables to hit, and how do you fit all these words properly in the bars and the measures
Yeah.
to make it all sound proper, like so that the listener can it registers with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I'll have weird ones like that, like how Eminem will have like these weird like ba ba da ba 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 da da ba da ba ba da ba ba ba
Yeah.
and
It's called
then
rhythm.
yeah, and then say or maybe some things are like staccato. I don't know if that's the word,
Mm-hmm.
but then there will be somebody like say I'll listen to Mad Child sometimes,
Right.
and a lot of his lyrics I feel or his flow will be like na 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 na
Mm-hmm.
na 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 na. So sometimes I try to formulate my rhymes to that,
Right.
and I'm like, well, I don't know. Again, experimenting with
Yeah.
what's gonna make the song sound best.
I mean, that's what's cool about music is you learn those different things and then you can make the choice to like, same thing with different chords or just whatever music theory that you learn, you know, when you are just jamming and letting it happen and stuff, you can kind of rely on those different things where it's like, okay, I know this is going to work here or this is going to have this effect or whatever. And then you just put all those different things in your tool bag. There's no one right way to do it.
So I heard David Lee Roth, Van Halen singer,
Hmm.
talking on Joe Rogan about when Eddie Van Halen would record solos.
Right.
And this is back in tape days, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure eventually they're using Pro Tools.
Yep.
But back in the 80s, you know, and which I think Pro Tools and all that stuff did start coming out even before the 2000s.
Yeah, probably.
But he was saying how Eddie would record like, 6 different guitar solos. And
Hmm.
then they'd be like, go through it, and he'd be like, well, I like this section. I like this section. I like this section in these
Hmm.
orders. So chop this, put in this order. And then he would, I think, maybe
Learn
relearn
that.
it. And
Yep.
then I think maybe he would record it like that again.
Hmm.
Not
I
sure, but it's a good writing
think you're
method.
right. Yeah, it's called comping.
Composing or comping? I don't know.
More like like compilation.
There you go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good way, dude, because there is that shit that you're gonna come up with that there's no way you're gonna write it if you're sitting down and trying to write every note and really piece it together.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do that with freestyling too, if you just freestyle the same verse over and over and over again, like people will do that.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of that, and I'll still go back on stuff and be like, I liked this. This sounded like shit.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I'm trying to work on more now is writing. And be
Hmm.
like, because once I start to write it, I can actually formulate it properly and
Yeah.
actually and break it down into bars on a piece of paper.
Yep.
You know, um,
For sure.
and I've heard guys talk about when they rap, like some guys say, when I write, I'll literally write. They'll draw bars on their piece of paper.
Hmm. That's how I've always done it, man. Like I've I've always really been about like the syllables and like really fitting it together. Um, I mean, like I said, I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's the way I've always done it because it's kind of like I think I take that inspiration from like pop music
Mm-hmm.
because pop music is whether you like it or not, it's so formulaic. And these guys are so good at making sure every single syllable is exactly where it needs to be to have that effect, you know?
I love pop music.
For sure.
And I mean, I'll listen to pop station all the time.
Yeah.
Doja Cat, she's
Yep.
like, and that's what I love is she's like pop, but she's also like rap, hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And Young Gravy's been on the radio a lot recently.
Yeah.
Never take a L no more. Na-na-na-na-na-na.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he was clever for fitting into his lane, finding his lane, kind of the cougar lane, whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying some stuff about like being out stuck in Bozeman, Montana.
Really?
Yeah. But what I was gonna say about pop music is Imagine Dragons.
Yeah.
I heard what's his name? Dan Reynolds on Rex Friedman's podcast.
Right. Lex Friedman. Mm-hmm.
I recommend that one.
Yeah.
The one with Dan Reynolds.
Right.
It's really cool. But he was saying kind of about his formulas of writing and just kind of how the band and all that came together and how it happened. But he was also saying, he's like, yeah, some people call us like one of the biggest rock bands on the planet. He's like, but I consider us pop.
For sure.
And in my mind, I'm like, that they're pop music. Like they
Mm-hmm.
might have some songs that sound pretty rocking, like that one song that's like they have that pause right before the
Yeah. Pain.
pain. I'm like, dude, that pause right there.
Yep.
Because he was saying, he's like, when I originally wrote it, it was like something like the message to the rain through the pain.
Mm-hmm.
During the production process, they somehow were like, no, when you have this break right before it.
For sure. I mean, silence, very effective if you use it right.
That's something I'll try to put into. I don't know if we were talking about it sometime. I think you might have gave me the advice once where you're saying one of the tricks of producing was, say you got a verse
Yep.
and it's pretty happening, it's kind of vibey,
Yep.
and you might have this little bridge right before the chorus kicks in,
Mm-hmm.
or pre-chorus, I guess.
Right.
And just dropping that down and being like, okay, then you really make it kind of slow or quieter.
Yep.
And then maybe even put that pause, like a break right before it, and it just makes it punch.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, like, because you could really take something that is just like you have like how 5 or 6 just tracks, and it could be the same thing because a lot of hip hop is just it's the same thing throughout each section,
Mm-hmm.
as far as like the underlying like chord progression or whatever that's going on, or the sample or whatever. But if you just say you got a verse, and then the first, if it's like one of those build up type verses where it's like it'll start out with just the sample, and then like the snare comes in, and then the kick comes in, and then it's like the full structure. I don't know. I feel like I've just I've always kind of had that ear for when something needs to change,
Right.
I remember when we were in Chemical Berry Avenue, and Cody was like teaching me how to play drums, and we'd be practicing these songs. Cody would be like, he'd be like, are you counting? Because of course I would fuck up at times, and he'd be like, are you counting? Because he'd want me to count in my head the bars for each section till we got to the next section or whatever. But I would just feel it, like literally I would be like, no, I'm not counting. Like I just kind of know, and I would know, like I just, not saying I was super good at it, but I had that sense of when the structure should change. But so yeah, with making beats and stuff, like if it's in a verse and for whatever reason you feel like it's getting repetitive, like just take out the hi-hats for the second half or like the last bar or whatever. But just
Yeah,
having those things drop in and out, and just keeps it interesting.
it does. And like you're saying with hip hop, how it could be all this same stuff. Like a lot of times it's the same beat throughout the whole thing. And
Most of the time, yeah.
and yeah, and I had to realize that at times when I was making beats because when I was first starting, I came from like a rock background
Yeah.
where rock has like a bunch of different drum sections, fills,
Yep.
like a different drum pattern for the intro, the
Mm-hmm.
verse, then like that pre-chorus, the chorus. It's all a different drum beat.
Yeah.
And then of course you go back into them, but when I was producing hip hop beats, I just had to learn to be more simple, standard, and repetitive because that repetitiveness is what actually it puts you into a trance. Like even that shaman
For
drums.
sure.
Sometimes I
Yep.
just listen to that, or I'll be like, it's literally just that for like an
Yeah.
hour.
I mean, it's the same with dance music. Like dance music has some of the longest structures, and repetition. And yeah, that's what just depends on what you're going for.
And
I
it's
mean,
usually just
mm-hmm.
like it's really just like, and I'll do that a lot of times when I'm like, want to play some guitar or something. Like, yo, if you want that up vibe, you
Yep.
just get a steady kick.
Yep.
Maybe the
Yeah. If it works, man.
kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare,
Yeah.
and then just maybe the same grid. Trap when it came out, I was like, dude, this is fucking tight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still love those so much. Like, I love 808s and sprinkler hi-hats.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for sure. Yeah, it works for a reason, you know. I was just thinking this earlier though, like people can only listen to the same thing for so long, you know. Um, there'll always be people that will listen to that type of stuff, same with dance music. Like people have been making and listening to dance music forever, and things go in and out of style or whatever. But if something works, just because people are getting sick of it, like in the mainstream, doesn't mean it's going to stop working ever. Like that four to the floor, simple dance beat will work for eternity.
Dude, for sure. And yeah, that's I guess, what I've been experiencing with the radio too is where I'm like I get so burnt out on like classic rock. And
Yeah.
I love classic rock. Like that was my upbringing. That's what I learned so much classic rock and studied it,
Yep.
especially for guitar solos.
For sure.
And but it's just like, dude, I've been listening to the same Boston and Journey, Led Zeppelin songs,
Yep.
Aerosmith for like since I was born.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just weird how you get burnt out on hearing the
For sure.
same stuff all the time.
Yeah. That's what inspires the evolution though, like, man, I got to try something different. Like, I mean, I love making like the dance music type stuff and trap type stuff. But I mean, even then, like you can that's what's cool about music is like, you kind of set the base of something that's familiar and but not too familiar because like people will get bored of it. So
Mm-hmm.
like you could take something that that works and then just hit him with something different and then it's like all of a sudden it's fresh.
Well,
Just because it's
that's
got whatever change in or this new weird sample or new style of doing whatever.
yeah, and that's something I struggle with sometimes because say I might make like a hip hop song, like a Crossroads hip hop song. Might sound a little country ish,
Yeah.
bluesy, but then I might make another one that sounds more pop and rock and punk.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, I like to release a lot of music that's just acoustic guitar.
Straight up.
And so I always wonder that too, where I'm like, well, I might develop a fan or fan base that's like, they really love the acoustic stuff,
Yeah,
but not so into like the hip hop stuff.
for sure.
And I just wonder sometimes how it could be received. Like, I don't want to lose people, but because I hear some people say, well, if you want to find success, you just stick to one thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you get good at that thing for sure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you because you're not gonna like have a hit pop song by just making one pop song in your life, you know, like for sure. I mean, just even even with me and just like trap style drums, like, you know, I've made a million of those, you know, and but for sure, just like what you decide to put out. Um, I don't know, man, like because I go back and forth, but I do think it is important to be consistent in that, just like I said, just what you put out, even with like a podcast
Mm-hmm.
or something, you know. Um, because
Yeah.
it is easy to want to just experiment like all over the place, but yeah, dude, if you do want success in something like that, like I mean, I'm kind of struggling with that with the podcast right now, my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
because I chose like the self-improvement category, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I'm thinking of all of this like different type of shit. Um, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't really know where it's gonna go or what it's gonna be, you know?
Well, maybe also with these different things you're interested in, maybe talking about, you could find the possible self improvement stuff within it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've come upon is like, because for me, I'm not really the person, not to say like you shouldn't be taking advice from me, but I'm probably not to a lot of people, you know, like a lot of people don't want to hear some young guy being like, this is what you got to do with your life, you know.
Be more
But
like me.
yeah, yeah, and um, but if anything, I think my way of going about it would be like this is what I'm thinking about, and like these are the things that I'm trying to improve on, and I don't know, I do think just the way that I think is a lot different than a lot of people my age. Not trying to say I'm special or anything, but just the shit that I've been through, you know, because I've been through a lot, man. Like sometimes you don't really realize people talk about having bad childhoods and shit, but like my childhood is like pretty fucked up, you know,
Right.
and
Well, when I
and just
met you, you were living in Josh's basement.
yeah, dude,
And you
like
go through periods of like you were living in Nate's basement. And I always thought that was, you know, just different. I was like,
for
man,
sure it's
it's,
different.
James has grown up in other people's families.
Yeah, dude, I basically have lived with all my friends.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I mean,
that's pretty different.
I lived with you, but I was already an adult then.
Mm-hmm.
But um, yeah, I lived with Josh. I lived with Nate. I lived with uh Jesse Pritchard, actually here in Kalispell.
I was thinking about him recently
Yeah, me too.
because you were going to move to Arizona.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about going to the Art Institute of Phoenix, and I'm pretty sure he still lives down there and
You ever
somewhere in
talk?
Arizona. No, man, I tried hitting him up recently, and yeah, I
No
don't know,
response back or something.
not really.
I've tried to hit up some people and I've gotten like some of them will respond, some of them I haven't heard back from. I don't like. Sometimes I'll be like, do they not like me? But I'm like, you know what? People, we've all like life. It could be 10 years since I even talked to this person,
For sure.
and it's just weird how you could still feel like sort of the same person you were 10 years ago. But
Yeah.
that's the thing about sobriety and getting sober is now, you know how they say it stunts your growth?
Hmm.
I now start to feel like I'm growing.
For sure.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And um, yeah, I'm kind of coming to respect it a little more when I don't get responses from people sometimes, unless I directly like call them or something,
Oh yeah,
because it means they're not on social media as much, which I think is a good thing, you know.
true
And
that.
just kind of the same thing if like if you post something and it doesn't get likes or whatever engagement from your friends and family, um, you know, your first instinct is be like, oh, they seen this and just scrolled past it. When the most likely they just didn't
Interact.
look at the app, you know. They're not looking at their phone all the time.
Yeah, for sure. That's something I had to get over for a long time. And talking to my therapist about it really helped because it was like, come to the realization that I was looking for validation and love and acceptance and to be liked, and
Yeah.
equated that with my self-esteem
Yep.
and personal outlook on life, and just, I got caught up in popularity contest stuff.
For sure.
And I guess ultimately there's a lesson that could be learned through the experience.
Yeah, I mean, because really, if you're at that point where you're aware, where it's like, okay, I'm seeking this validation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like if you're making art, you know, you want to put it out and you want it to be received well.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like, I mean, like I was saying, for one, they might not just be on the internet as much, but you know, thinking of like being popular or whatever, you just like really what are you valuing about your art or your creative process or even wanting to be validated, you know? Um yeah, I'm finding it hard to like put it in words, but
Well, when I was in the midst of that, I told myself I wasn't in that state of mind,
right.
which is the hypocritical, almost self-righteous, holier than thou part of
For
my
sure.
ego. It's like,
For sure.
I'm not doing this to put, I'm not doing this for the clout or the love or the money. But at the same
Hmm.
time, in the back of my mind, that is what I wanted.
Yeah.
So, and that's all I can chop a lot of this up to be. Because, dude, I never thought I'd be going to therapy and AA groups and church again.
Yep.
I was just like, dude, I'm gonna be in on acid, drunk at the bar, partying it up, raging. Like, somehow that became my life. And, you know, it, it was interesting how today's topic and group was about God. God is everywhere in the 12-step program.
Yeah.
It's basically about, you know, those types of things of like being like, because for me, it really came. I'm just getting through my first step right now.
Hmm.
I'll be getting in the second step soon, but one of the biggest things for me was I was too prideful to like change because other people needed to tell me I needed to change.
Hmm.
I would know I needed to change and to quit drinking and abusing, but I was weak.
Right.
Like, dude, I'll get drunk today. Although I know felt like shit this morning or whatever. I know I should stop using these drugs because I feel guilty and shameful, especially because I'd be hiding it
Hmm.
from like my wife, you know,
Yeah.
and still having this self-righteous holier than thou thing. But really, when it came down for me to stop, I actually did pray and be like, dude, higher power, God, universe, like, I need your help here. Like, if you can give me the strength to make it through one day,
Yep.
because it's been so hard for me willpower wise.
Yeah.
And I guess that was kind of the hardest part, was kind of surrendering to the fact that I lost control.
Hmm. For sure. I was watching this video earlier about stoicism and this stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius.
Wait, what's stoicism?
Stoicism is just like like what being stoic means, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, if you're stoic, you're just like, you don't really let things bother you, basically.
Mm.
You're kind of unperturbed, and uh, you know, one of the lines was like, don't add anything from within to a situation. So if someone
Mm.
makes a joke at your expense, you can choose to get mad at it, but you're adding something from within. You're adding your feelings on top of the situation when a joke really can't hurt you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because what happened to him was, he was traveling somewhere by sea, and he had all his kind of life savings on the ship, and then the ship crashed and he lost everything, and he had to start over. And then he kind of made the decision to either fucking flip out or just not even really react to it, you know. um but one of the things that video was talking about was, or I might be mixing up videos too, but I was watching just a few of these
Mm-hmm.
different videos, and one of the things about the prayer thing was, instead of, say say you're scared of leaving someone, or scared of someone leaving you, instead of praying that this person doesn't leave you, pray that you have the strength to handle it if it does, because that's something you can control, is how you react to it. And just praying for the things that you can control. Like you said, you were praying for the strength, that's something you can control. And um just praying for, I mean, it was weird. I was like, I haven't meditated in a really long time, but
Mm-hmm.
today I just decided to, because part of my reasoning with getting off social media is to just, cut out all the distractions from my mind, because your mind really does get kind of like fragmented into all these different, you're placing your attention in all these different places,
Dude,
and
that's why I was talking to a psychiatrist about ADHD.
yeah.
And not to interrupt, but I think that the new like prescription program so far is helping. I'm only 3 days in, but I can notice the
Hmm.
organizing of the chaotic mind. But anyways, what you're saying about
For sure.
meditating.
Yeah. um so yeah, I think that is definitely helping, just kind of only focusing on the things that I'm choosing to focus on. But meditation is kind of like the ultimate form of that, because you're shutting everything off and you're just sitting there with your mind. And so I was doing that, and it was just after watching a couple of these like stoicism videos, and I was just sitting there, and I was thinking about that thing about prayer, and praying for the things that you can control. And it's kind of like the serenity prayer, but just something that popped in my head, and I was kind of using it like as a mantra. was like, God, give me the grace to accept things as they have been, and the patience to accept things as they are, and the strength to accept things as they will be.
Mm, that's cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a good mantra, and like I just, because you can dwell on the past, and or you can be gracious with it and be grateful for the things that have happened,
Mm-hmm.
and for being in the moment. The best thing you could have is patience, with other people and with things that happen to you. And inevitably there's going to be something in the future that happens that you're going to have to power through, and ultimately it's about accepting it, and not really fighting it.
Well, that's basically what I found behind the philosophy of like the Buddhist philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Finding that contentness and acceptance, and also,
Yep.
you know, part of the program I've been working on recently in the workbook is mine is also faith based because it's the church and Alcoholics Anonymous like combined,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of about not only the alcohol addiction but also about the condition in the mind and emotional and spiritual,
Yep.
how they're all intertwined. But so I've been working on this stuff like with resentment and anger about the past, with like family, friends, enemies. And
Yep.
one of the big things they've been saying is like getting to the point where you can like pray for those people, like that you want to have better relationships with, or that you want to have they'll find whatever they're looking for or be happier. And it was like hard for me to be like, pray for my enemies and people I resent. That's hard for me when at times in my life, as much as I hate to admit it, to say like, oh, I didn't have ill will. Well, it's like, well, I didn't like them. Part of me hated them.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of negative thoughts towards people, and
Yeah.
you know, this whole like kind of reconnection with God thing. Because when I would abuse substances, it felt to me like getting closer to God.
Yeah.
I felt like the closer to death I'd get, which I was obsessed with. And I also a sponsor told me something about how it was from the movie Father Stew, Mark Wahlberg. It was something like that the broken people like get really close to God,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the like things that I they would refer to God in the program was they would say, oh, following God, like following good, orderly direction. And then I heard another good one today, because when we tell these stories in group, and a lot of people refer to it as like God kind of speaking through the group and how it can speak to people and how we can all
Mm-hmm.
relate. And this one fella said, a group of drunks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to look at like a higher power of a group of drunks, and how getting a group of drunks together could be your higher power. Some people that didn't believe in a higher power, but they're like, I have faith in AA. And it's like, well, AA is your form of a higher power. It's a power stronger than you that you use, that you believe in or something. I don't know. So it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I like to hear everybody's outlooks.
For sure. Yeah. Um, yeah, man.
Because
I,
the
I think
bottle became my god for a while.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't know. I think there's probably a reason when or why when a lot of people come out of those uh addictions and stuff, that is one thing a lot of people turn to. I mean, my sister, she did it like, pretty heavy, and I'm not sure about my younger sister really, but even just for myself, like, I've really been interested in all these different philosophies, and I don't think any, I think they're all right. You know, I don't think any one is right. You know, they're all just kind of different flavors of the same thing.
Hmm.
And, you know, there's some to learn from all of them for sure. And, you know, like
I'm fascinated with them. Yeah.
for sure, yeah. The like the Aristotle quote, it's the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain an idea without fully accepting it, you know.
Well, that's why I love conspiracy theories too.
For sure. Hmm. Yeah, dude. I mean, you just learn how other people think, you know, and I think that's important. I think it's important. It's like the opposite of an echo chamber, you know, like if you're just only surrounded by people that think the same exact things, like how are you ever going to learn anything new or any, I mean, nobody's 100% right, you know, like we're all just figuring this shit out, and anybody who claims to be 100% right, or they know that this is what happens or whatever, you know, it's like,
Cult leader,
yeah.
pretty much,
Well, I mean, even some religions too, you know, like
which can
I
end
was
up being like a cult in
for
ways.
sure. That's why Buddhism is so cool, is because it's all about you finding out for yourself. You know, there's no one teacher. The Buddha even said himself, like, I'm not the way. Like, you have to figure it out for yourself, you know?
But yeah, I remember somebody, say we have a Buddhist figurine, a little
Yeah.
statue thing, and some people would be like, "That's idolatry. You're worshiping that Buddha," and I'm like, "No, I don't worship Buddha.
Right.
Buddha's not like uh, a god to me. It's more. What's interesting about it is how Buddha became the central figure of a belief,
Right.
And have you been to that? What is it? The land of a thousand Buddhas
Mm-hmm.
or whatever?
Yeah.
Garden of thousand Buddhas.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That place is amazing,
It is.
and it's not to say that it's all Buddha, but to see all these, I don't know, Tibetan and Hindu, just there's something really powerful about that. And sitting down, there's something so powerful about sitting down and breathing properly, and I like the idea of ohms, like when you're like om,
Mm-hmm.
and how ohms in a like if I have my electrical thing to test electricity, you read the
Yep.
ohms
Yep.
and how much the current of electricity, so it makes me how much energy is flowing through, so it makes me think of like, oh yeah, us as humans, our ohms, it's just a weird way to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, in with electricity, ohms is actually the resistance to flow. It's the measurement of resistance, which is
Mm.
kind of interesting because just being a human being and having a physical form and only existing on this wavelength, it is kind of like that. It's like the energy is being kind of restricted and limited to these like set of experiences, you know.
Oh yeah, it's like an infinite thing becoming finite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
man. Super interesting. I was listening to this podcast about how the when J.K. Rowling was writing Harry Potter, like
Mm-hmm.
the snitch, you know, in the Quidditch game,
Mm-hmm.
like finding the snitch, it's like a game within a game, you know, like that. The seeker, his only job is to find the snitch. He's not defending or uh, offending anybody. He's just got one goal, and it's to find the snitch. But I can't remember the name of it. But apparently, the snitch was like some alchemical symbol,
Hmm.
and it's basically kind of about that. Like if you're a seeker, everyone is kind of a seeker in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But just the things that interest you, you know, they have some sort of attraction, and you can't really can't you don't know why, you know, like it's just inside you for whatever reason that is you're attracted to that, you know.
Yeah.
And
curiosity or truth seeking,
Yeah.
which is why I go digging down rabbit holes.
Hmm. Or just like synchronicities, things that happen and you're like, oh man, like that novelty. And you're just like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm on the right path.
That's when I would believe in God more. When those things would happen in my life. I mean, it could be the universe, the matrix, but to me, that's what God is. I'm like, well, God is the universe. You're just calling it God, or God is the matrix, or God is beyond. And like sometimes I think of the matrix like that, where I'm like, yo, God's beyond the universe. Like, there's not the
Hmm.
story that God created the universe. So I'm
Hmm.
like, yo, what if this is just a projection, the simulation from God's computer or whatever? Where it's like, oh, he's like the ultimate programmer.
Right.
But part of me believes, and especially from the psychedelics and meditation, where I'd go like a DMT trip, where it's like traveling to the source. The
Yeah.
source is what I'd call God, where it's like, yo, this is where all that energy that makes up this whole life comes from.
Hmm.
And I'm like, but we are that. Like, that's the way I think about it, where I'm like, yo, you're like a soul. Like, you're a different soul than me. Like, we all have our own soul. But ultimately, I believe that like we somehow just make our way back to being like we're one soul
Hmm.
that then just like fractals out and expands.
Yeah.
And I guess it's almost like that whole thing where it's like life is on a search to discover what it is or something like that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
to find it, like I could find it in you. Like if I was just wandering around, like I'm the only person on this planet,
Hmm.
like
Right.
I don't know. That's why you got to have the whole counterpart, or whatever.
For sure. Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of what happened when we had that trip and that kind of holy moment experience.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean, I'm pretty sure it was it was just that. And I think that's that's kind of what connects us, but it's also what separates us because
Mm.
people are uncomfortable with it, and I think deep down people do know that other people, it's just you, but you're living a different life, and if you were to trade spots, you would be them too, because just the set of experiences and the body and mind that they're born with leads them to being this type of person, and that having that personality and stuff. But deep down, really, just the thing that we are, just whatever consciousness or the soul or whatever. I mean, it's all the same thing.
Dude, that's one of the things that fascinates me about group, which, you could find a group in any place. But recently,
Hmm.
this men's group for me is just one of my activities that I do weekly.
Hmm.
And, I might be sitting next to a lawyer, cop, uh, somebody in military, retired military, criminal, biker, a
Yeah.
raver, a hippie. And it's
Yep.
just, it's just interesting how, like, all these different people, different life experiences, and different styles or personality or characteristics can all be in the same room and have like respect for each other and want each other to have good things happen to them.
Yep.
Although we look different on the surface, but we all have something in common.
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
just like the coolest thing.
Well, I mean, and it kind of comes back to what you're talking about like praying for your enemies, because just like what we're saying, it's like it's we're all the same thing, and when somebody hurts you, um it's basically just a hurt person just like screaming out into the void, like they don't but it's still that it all comes from the same place, someone is, didn't get the love that they think they needed or whatever. And it's probably the reason people shoot up schools and stuff, and it seems
Mm.
impossible to find forgiveness in something like that, and that's part of being that's what makes you human though, is you have you just have those struggles of finding different perceptions and just having those feelings too, like, allowing yourself to get angry and resentful and stuff, but just owning that and knowing it's just because you're a human being, like we're not perfect gods, but we all do have that same thing in us that we all can, find commonalities. But it's kind of the same thing with like politics and stuff, like, and what I was saying about it's important to be around people that are different than you, because that's what's kind of cool about being in Montana is like we have, I mean, every place has both like left and right,
Mm-hmm.
but um I personally, I don't really like even knowing if somebody is whatever, um left or right,
Republican, Democrat,
yeah, because
liberal.
you hang out with them enough and you do realize that you have a lot in common, and most of these people are, they want the same things, they have the same kind of goals and feelings and stuff. And when it's only when you start talking about politics that these things come out where it's like, oh, the left is just a bunch of fucking lunatics and paranoid or whatever, and then it's like you're doing the exact same thing that you're getting mad at this other group for doing. Like it's just an endless back and forth.
Have you seen the Bill Burr on Joe Rogan kind of talking about that?
Probably.
He says something about how he's like, yeah, you'll see all these people fighting and whatever, yada yada, and then you'll see, one of the left or the right on CNN or Fox News say something or tweet something, and then the other side gets mad at that, and it's just
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? Contradicting themselves.
Yep.
Like where they'll be like people that are like, you should have free speech, but then they'll get mad about what somebody said on
Yeah.
on the opposite side.
Yeah.
It's like,
I seen.
well, you should have. Isn't that what you're saying? You should have the freedom to express your opinion.
Mhm.
Just stuff like that. It's interesting.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I seen this Reddit post that it really, really broke it down about how everything, and this is just an example because it could go both ways, but how everything that Republicans are getting mad at the left for is basically just an admission of guilt,
Mm.
because they are doing the exact same things, say with cancel culture, like all these woke leftists in their cancel culture. Meanwhile, they are doing the exact same thing. They're trying to cancel these people for uh,
For
you know,
canceling.
for being transgender or gay rights and shit like that, and it's like, yeah, or for canceling, like,
It is a very confusing. I'm sure life's always confusing, and well, it's a really confusing time. I want to watch this documentary called "What Is a Woman." Have you heard of it?
mm-mm,
It looks amazing because this guy goes around like asking people like, "What is a woman?" and going to
mm-hmm,
transgenders and other like psychologists and just people and people that have had sex changes or people that identify differently. And
right,
one person he was saying is like, well, okay, so what if I was to tell you I'm a black person and he's
mm-hmm,
he's white?
right,
And they're like, well, you know, people lie. And he's like,
mm-hmm,
well, like I might be, like I might have genetics, or what if I'm just identifying as a black? What's the difference between I identify as a male or a female, or I don't know, all the different in betweens,
mm-hmm,
or I'm identifying as this race? And
mm-hmm.
just like now I hear about kids that are identifying as cats and dogs. I'm like, dude, how far is this gonna go?
Yeah, I was listening to Jordan Peterson, and I think he was on the Aubrey Marcus podcast, and he was
Mm,
talking about that and just with identity and how Identity is basically something that you can't just pick and make everyone else play that game, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think I heard something like that.
Yeah, like identity is something that kind of has to work with the rest of the world, you know? And whether you're choosing your identity or you're just kind of accepting as it happens, it's still something that is like a communication between you and then the rest of everyone else around you. And if you're just picking something arbitrary or something that, you know, you might actually feel, but then you're demanding that everyone else around you respect that, like it's not really how identity works, you know. It's kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Well, I heard Jordan Peterson also saying something about how like the pronouns. It's like first of all, you're asking me to change like the English language or grammar to abide your new set of rules or laws. But he's
Right.
like, the interesting thing is a lot of these pronouns are in reference when they're not there, like when they're
Mm-hmm.
not around you. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when he's like speaking about basically how people are trying to control the words you use when you're not even around them.
Yeah,
And
and
it's just such a confusing time. Like, no offense to people out there that refer to themselves as a they or them, but even that one, like if you're referring to yourself as they, how many people are living inside of you, you know?
yeah.
Like that's to me, I'm like, well, you're admitting that you have multiple personalities, right?
I
Something
think
like
it's
that.
just because it's ambiguous. There's no like it's not either or. It's yeah, but I mean, like I'm in no way like against, and I'm not just saying that to not be canceled by our non-audience by Cody.
Our
No.
four viewers, yeah.
But no, like I really believe that. Like if you identify as a woman and you tell me that, then I'll be like, okay, like that's what you want to be called. I'll call you that because I respect you and all that, you know. But if someone walks up to you and is like, hey, what's up, man? You can't get mad at them because they didn't know. Like you never told them before. And like I said, identity is something that is not just a one-way street. Like it's back and forth. And you know, like say I change my name. Like if someone comes up to me, it's like, hey, James, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I changed my name to John. But they have no idea. So it's like, but if I tell them, like, hey man, like change my name to John, and
Right.
then they start and then they keep calling me James, I'm gonna be like, all right, dude, like
You
I
shall
told you.
now, you shall now all refer to me as master.
Yeah.
You ever see
I'm
that?
no,
I think it was like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or something.
right,
And they're like, no, we're not gonna call you master. Like, excuse me, master. Like,
right.
it's just funny how, but words have a lot of power to them. I
Definitely.
actually believe, like, and that's the thing about like etymology
Yep.
and the breakdown of like letters and words and the syllables and how, and that's why I try to even change the way I write now. When I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I'm like, because I've written things that have manifest into life that maybe I didn't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I do want to write about things that I want to manifest, but I'm also not trying to just be like selfish and greedy and have this like vanity behind it
Yeah.
where where it's like, man, I'm praying, God help me please get this a new $10,000 watch, you know,
Right.
or whatever. It's like, and then kind of stuff we were talking about recently is how sometimes people might pray or meditate on something to attract in their life or to manifest, but they don't take the action
Yeah.
and apply it in their life. They just think like, oh, is this gonna like happen?
Right.
So
No, yeah. I mean, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying about just praying for the things that you can control. You know, like you can pray for a $10,000 watch, or you can pray or meditate or focus on uh, you know, attaining the work ethic to get that, because that's something you can control, you know. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with with wanting things, you know, and like liking nice stuff or whatever. Like if that's what interests you and you're doing it for yourself, that's okay, you know. Like if you're only buying a $10,000 watch to show it off and you don't even like watches, like that's real vanity, you know. But if you're
Hmm.
like really into watches, there's nothing wrong with getting a $10,000 watch, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever buy a $10,000 watch. I could
No, I mean,
receive one as a gift, but I would still be like, dude, I could have
right.
done something else with that. But about the prayer thing, that's another thing I am working on, is also praying about the things that I can't control, that are out of my power, that I want to control. A part of me
Mm-hmm.
is like, oh, I wish I could make this change, or I wish that, my father would, stop drinking
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, or whatever. That's like, look, I can't make this happen, but maybe if I pray about it, that's all I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I go and try to intervene, it's not gonna happen. But maybe then the universe or God or whatever could start to do its thing of like, I don't know, I'm gonna make things happen. And that's when I think the power of meditation too, where I would sometimes put myself in a state of mind where, again, I'd become self-righteous, and I could say that at times in my life, I thought I was God,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And there's a difference between thinking you're God and like being one with God or co-creating with God, I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would kind of put myself in that state of mind where I actually envision like waves of energy maybe coming out of me or moving through me into the universe and like making things happen. Like when you say you're like attracting this car into your life,
Mm-hmm.
and envisioning and having those thoughts or writing them down or speaking things into reality more,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's again the power of the words. And that's why I'm trying to change the way I write songs and even
Yeah.
speak. I'm trying to not complain, trying to
Yep.
watch my cussing.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids are always like, Dad, you said the F word.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
I mean, I do think it is important to be aware of the words you use, you know, even, but I think it's more of,
How you use
um,
them or when you
yeah,
use
how
them.
you use them. Like instead of saying, I want this or I want to do this, like people say, like, I want to lose weight, just the effect that that has on yourself compared to being like, I intend to lose weight. Like those are
Yeah.
two different wavelengths.
Or just like, I'm working on losing weight. I'm losing weight.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'm, I want to get stronger. I mean, like, man, I'm getting stronger.
I mean, yeah, just like with the car thing and how before we were talking about when you say you want something, part of you
Oh,
is recognizing that you don't have it.
yeah.
So
That's
so
I seen that the other day, or
mhm,
it was just another reminder of that. How it's like the desire is what's keeping you from, like, that's keeping you in that state of suffering or whatever, of feeling or lack, like
yeah.
thinking you're in lack because you desire something.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah. And it's kind of reinforcing that. And it's just that self-talk kind of thing, you know, or like even with my car, you know, like I wanted a new car and I did want something that was nicer. And it wasn't because I wanted other people to be like, oh wow, look at him, he's got a nice car. But it was almost just an kind of an exercise for me because I've never had nice stuff growing up and stuff like that. And like my parents, you know, that they would always have just kind of whatever beater cars and stuff. Um, but it was just an exercise in being like, I can do this. And
Mhm.
if it is something that I want, like for myself, like for a car, like I need a car to get to work and to get around and stuff, you know. And so it was for me, you know. Most of that energy was going towards I'm gonna get this for me because I need it, you know. But even it being like a newer and nicer car, like that does something for me, or it's like, okay, like these things aren't that out of reach. And you know, you don't have to settle for just whatever comes your way, or whatever shitty car, or whatever girlfriend, or whatever shitty relationship, you know.
True that.
Like
Yeah.
you can, I mean, like I think if you're doing good things and you're thinking good thoughts, like you do deserve to have whatever you want, you know.
That's what I had to work on in therapy. Which now we've gotten to a point where, it's like, I don't even know what to talk about. He's like, well, then,
Yeah,
we don't need to do therapy for therapy's sake. Call him. He's like, sometimes you just need to go out and enjoy a good state of mind and
yeah,
call me if you need something and we'll get together again, or we'll just check up in a month or two or three and talk
right.
about how good things are, not just bad things. But
Mm-hmm.
really what I had to work on a lot with him was the self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things in my life stemmed from self-worth and not feeling worthy.
Yeah.
And so, and that was the first thing that who ended up being my sponsor said to me in group the first day I ever arrived there
Mm-hmm.
was he was made a point of say, you're worthy, like you're worth it, like because the guys would say, keep coming back, we're glad you're here, come back, I want to see you again
Yeah.
here. And yeah, that was just, it really registered with me because that's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
And to, like you say, to get into a new car, or to buy a house one day, or to find love, or whatever, is like to feel worthy of that. And so to get, I don't know, I was working on a song recently called Worthy of Your Love that was kind of always about how I didn't feel worthy of people's love, family and
Mm-hmm.
friends, and the desire to one day be worthy of your love. And even a lot of my songs will go back to not just my relationship with people, but there's this underlying thing of often drugs and often God. Like it can be viewed in many of these different ways, right? So ultimately, it also came down to that with the worthy of your love, where I was like, I just want to be worthy of your love. Like I want to be worthy of God's love. Like, does God not love me? Am I not worthy? I'm too bad, not good enough for your love? But then, kind of the experiences I do get in church is like where they're like, where they say those things like, no, or God or Jesus, or, I go to a Christian church. So that's what they'll say is like, you've always been worthy. Like God's always loved you
Yeah.
through all the struggles, the bad times, the times you're rebelling. Like you're always worthy of love.
Mm-hmm.
You just might not think you are.
Yeah.
And so that was something that was kind of hard for me to just kind of like wrap my head around and get an idea of like, could this really be like, am I worthy of love? Like, have I always been? And I thought I wasn't. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
the to change my state of mind on it. Is ultimately what it comes down to.
For sure.
So,
Yeah. I remember it was when I was living at Nate's, and there's this one No Effects album, um, Never Trust a Hippie,
haha.
it's called. And it's got Jesus on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if I was just what I was thinking about or what the hell I was on. But I just remember it kind of hit me like basically what you're saying is like, and it wasn't like anything that anybody said to me or whatever, but it was just like this kind of like this just profound moment that hit me where like God does not care like what you do or anything. Cause you know, a lot of people say like, oh, if you do this, you're going to hell or any of that. I don't believe in that. Like, there's no way that an all powerful, all loving God is going to see you, you know, loving another man and send you to hell. Like, no matter what, God loves you. And yeah, like you said, it's always been that way and will always be that way. And, you know, I just remember it hit me and like, I shed a tear, you know, I was just sitting alone in my room. And yeah, it was, you know, all this other stuff about just, you know, different religions and rules and stuff like that's all man-made, I think, you know. And at the end of the day, it's no matter what you do, you know, you could be the most evil person in the world and God is still going to love you, you know. At the end of the day, it's really just how you treat other people and stuff is like, it's only going to either help yourself or hurt yourself, you know. Like if you're killing someone else, you're killing yourself, you know. You're not really hurting anybody else in
Yeah, it's
God's
that
eyes.
again, the golden rule of do unto others as you have done yourself, which karma, I guess the way energy could bounce back and forth. But yeah, man, that also made me think of how somebody earlier today said, you know, at a point when they were getting into God, because a lot of people struggle with the God thing, rebelling against it. I'd wrestle with God and be angry at God, like, why are you putting us through hell? Why do you let all this bad stuff happen? Oh, you give us
Yeah,
free will to like do whatever we want. But and they were saying like God is love. And then he's like, so then I shifted my perception to like my relationship with love. And what are my outlooks on love? Do I have resent towards love? Do I not believe in love? Do I, you
right.
know? So I thought that was just another good like shift in perception for me, where I was like,
Hmm.
I never looked at it like that. I'd hear God is love, and I think, oh yeah, God loves you. God, to love other people. But then again, that never trust a hippie thing, because there's a lot of hypocritical hippies like myself, like
For
where
sure.
I might be like peace and love, man. Like let's all sing kumbaya and give each other hugs and be nice to each other. But then there's this piece of me inside of me that's like, fuck everything. Fuck
Yeah.
you. I hate myself. I hate my mom. I hate my dad. Because of my shitty childhood, and they were never gave me the love I want or whatever.
Hmm.
And not to go off topic, but I seen this other dude on Joe Rogan recently who's talking about ADHD. He's a
Hmm.
doctor, and they're talking about like, is it a disease or like a mental illness or whatever? And the dude's saying, he's like, well, really, we be it's a pattern in the mind that gets formed when we're usually a baby. And if we're getting the attention as a child, or if we're in a bad environment that's like people yelling and screaming, and it's a bad environment, then we tend to tune out and disassociate from that.
Hmm.
And so it's those things that get programmed in our brains from such a young age that just stick with us.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting outlook on it. And it also, I seen something about narcissism and it having to do a lot with that, where it's like, if you just again aren't getting sometimes that love or attention, how it turns into that self-centered, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, because you know, ADHD is all about focus, you know, and what you can focus on and uh commit that energy to and for how long, you know. And I do believe that because it's just like when you're on the internet and you're scrolling or something, it's like you're looking for something, you're looking for that dopamine hit. And these apps are literally designed to make people addicted, like
Mm-hmm.
literally addicted in your brain to continue chasing that dragon. And some people aren't as addicted as others, but it's a focus thing. And we're constantly just in these short spurts focusing on way too much different shit. And we can't focus just on one thing. And, people wonder why they can't get shit done. And you just got to really, really sit with yourself and be like, what do I want? Like, what do you want? Like, and so many people are just so scared just to sit with themselves and sit with their thoughts. Like, they're literally scared of it. And they'll say it out loud. They're like, oh man, I can't do that. Like, and it's part of the reason why a lot of people they don't want to smoke weed is because it makes them paranoid. But it really doesn't make you paranoid. It just makes you have thoughts and it makes you so in tune with your thoughts that you are thinking about all this shit and you can't necessarily control it. And I don't know if it's the weed doing that or if it's the fact that people's attentions are just so fragmented, and they're not used to being with their thoughts, and if I think that's the most important thing you could do is just unplug, and just really sit with yourself and be like, what do I want? And then you could start to focus on that and start, going in that direction. And I don't know, man, like just I feel like this podcast that I've started and this one too, but just starting this podcast for myself, it's like really been kind of a catalyst to do that, because it's making me look at myself a lot more. And just the fact that it's a self-improvement podcast, I'm looking up these different things and trying to like integrate that.
It's good for you to have something that you're working on, that you have a passion for, that you
Mm-hmm.
know, want to be successful, that you enjoy.
Yep.
You know, those things really make people happy.
Yeah.
Like, and especially if it's something that you can connect with other people that want to connect with you
Mm-hmm.
because they like what you have to say or they can relate to it. Because that, I mean, to me, that's what connecting is. And that's why I struggled with social media for so long, is because I felt like I was connecting with like the wrong people.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that like bad people or it's weird to say the wrong people because basically I could break it down into that where I was speaking to somebody about this today where I was like, I got caught up in the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
And, no offense to those people. But for a long time I would try to fit in with different crowds, like be like, yo, I'm gonna go here and see where I fit in, see where I fit in. And be like, I don't fit in anywhere, but I'm trying to fit in everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all that search for identity, that search for self, like who am I, and
Yeah.
then searching for myself and all these different people, and maybe not spend enough time like you say, like self-improvement, self-reflection, and but I, also not becoming so self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, oh, the whole world revolves around me, and I'm God's special. I'm the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you got to take care of yourself first to be able to help other people. Um,
that's the fact.
and that's what I'm trying to do, like, because at the end of the day, like, no bullshit. Like, if I could help somebody in any way, really, like if it's talking to them or if it's literally just helping them with something, that's what makes me feel best, and that's what makes me feel like there's an actual connection. Like it really bums me out when I might visit somebody or reach out to somebody that like I really care about and love, and then you just don't feel that connection. And that really bums me out. And like I live for those times where it's like just yeah, like those real human moments. And you both kind of come away feeling better, you know. And I mean,
Well,
what else
that's
can you do?
again, love. Like I'm sure, that's really the most important kinds of relationships we can get in, like with a partner, a mate that we're have love for, you know. I mean, I got a wife and kids, and I'm sure you'll another mate will attract into your life that's fitting for whatever you want in life. But I think when we do find, if you're not wanting to be single and floundering around and getting laid with multiple partners, but when you find somebody that, like you're saying, you want to help them be better and care for them and show them love, and they want to reciprocate that, and they want to see you be the best version of you. And I even seen a thing today that was like, if two people are focused on one goal, it's going to manifest faster.
For sure.
And, and I thought of me and my wife, because that's something we have to work on, is being like, we want the same thing. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
going down this path while I'm going down this path,
Yep.
and even you and me, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
we have common goals, like with the podcast, music, where it's like,
Yep.
we have this common goal that we're working on manifesting, it'll manifest. Two heads are better than one.
Yeah. I mean, even in just like a pragmatic way, kind of the whole like 10,000 hour rule.
Mm-hmm.
If you're spending 10,000 hours on a goal and you're going towards a totally separate goal, and I'm doing the same thing but in a different direction, it's going to take us both 10,000 hours to reach those goals. But if we're both, like you said, have a common goal, it's going to take us 5,000 hours, because if we're working together, you share your mistakes and failures, I share my mistakes and failures, and we both are learning the right way, we're gonna do it twice as fast, you know.
Yeah, dude,
So that's why, honestly, that's why to me, and I've struggled with this a lot, because when I show people my stuff, and I'm like asking for criticism, I'm like, show me how I can be better. Because if I'm doing this 100% by myself, it's going to take so long, you know, like I can do it. But if someone on the outside, or especially someone that knows what they're talking about, they can be like, yeah, dude, you're supposed to do this, you know, and, or like, this fucking sucks. Like, cut this out, you know, like,
right.
don't like stop doing this, and, you know, figure out a better way or something. Cause to me, at the end of the day, like the best idea wins. It's not about me, you know, it's about reaching that goal. And, you know, for me, whether it's music or this podcast or my podcast, I want something to be successful so I can fucking quit my day job and stop breaking my back for someone else who is just going to replace me if I fucking die today. I want to be able to have that success, you know, so I can employ my family and my friends that are also wanting to work towards that same goal, you know, and buy my mom a house so she doesn't have to live in a shitty situation, you know. Like, it's, so at the end of the day, like I don't care who does it, you know, or if someone comes along and be like, dude, um
Well,
what
I would suggest even one thing is running with your branding of dummy head as
yeah.
one thing, because it's
Hmm.
kind of like, yo, I got the Soulfire thing, I got Crossroads. But I think of it in many terms because, like you say, employing your family, where I think about my kids, I didn't have like a family business that my dad had and I could work with.
Yeah.
I had to go get multiple jobs. And for my kids, I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm put money away, save money, invest, um, and build businesses and, show you other ways to make money, especially this day and age, but also have those other physical businesses where it's like, yo, construction work. But I went from that point, like you say, where it's like I had a boss that he I always had to work under him. He'd book these jobs, I'd go and do them. And once I established a business name, got the independent contractor stuff going on, I
Mm-hmm.
could jump around, subcontract with other contractors, help them on jobs, pick up my own jobs, even small ones like a little remodel, little patchwork. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that for my cousin where it's like, hey, I got this, we're working on this big house, or I got this other, remodel over here, or this patch job. If you want to run, bounce, do this, that.
Right.
I subcontract, but also independent contract and kind of just build the business. But it went from, like you're saying, working for a one man boss, because people could work for a corporation for 10 years and then it goes under or they get fired. And it's
Yeah.
like, damn, dude, I just put all that time into this other company, when alongside all the jobs I'd work, I'd slowly be trying to build whatever other branding. And
Yeah.
I don't know, that's the way to think, bro, because, you know, then you ultimately can't always rely on these other people,
Right.
but you know, you can rely on yourself. And I couldn't always rely on myself when I was getting fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
I became unreliable,
For sure.
and that was not cool. So I had to
Yeah.
get myself back to being able to rely on myself and be confident and
Yep.
have like hope and faith and belief again because I was so depressed and just like lost hope. And I was like, dude, why try? I'm just going to fail. I suck. I'm not going to succeed, and I would stop myself from starting.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like we were saying earlier too, there was this sometimes a fear of failing, but also a fear of succeeding,
Yeah.
and actually believing you're even worthy of succeeding. Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, shit, I can't get a brand new car. I'm not worried of that. I need to get like a beater. Like, kidding me? I can't get a new truck. I'm only
Right.
worthy of an old, rusty truck with problems because I'm an old, rusty fuck with problems.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. It's like, but again, that's why I was like, if I can get everything right within myself, get my body back, get my mind back, these things around me will start to change.
Yeah.
And a
For
year
sure,
after
dude.
I got sober, finally got my fucking old truck running again.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I'm like, dude, I'll just keep at it. Hopefully one day I'm 5 years sober. I'm 30 years sober. I quit getting fucked up in
Yep.
2021 or whatever, and I'm 80 years old now. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I was gonna say something.
Sorry, I went on a ramble.
No, you're good. You're good. I was gonna say I don't. There's totally nothing wrong with having like a day job. Not everybody needs to be this like, oh, you need a side hustle and rise and grind type shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, even if you are trying to build something, it is super important and beneficial to have a day job because you could learn and grow in all sorts of different ways that you're not gonna just by sitting at home all day and being on your computer and doing graphic design or whatever. Not saying there's anything wrong with that either,
Well, that's
but
why I had to get back into it all again because I was like, this ain't enough.
mhm,
If
for
I'm gonna buy
sure.
a house,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to
I
buy a
mean,
house off graphic design unless you're. Obviously, there's some graphic designers out there that are making buku,
yeah,
but
there's plenty of benefits to having a day job. Like you have uh basically a guaranteed income as long as you show up. I mean, for the type of stuff we do, it's physical, so you get to burn off that pent up energy. You get to be
mm-hmm.
in that kind of group setting and that team setting where you're working with other guys and shit. And like with me becoming foreman, like I'm like kind of forced to take on responsibilities and become a better leader and public speaker, kind of, you know. And yeah, and just being more like assertive and direct with things, not really beating around the bush about shit, and getting people to not like you, you know, being okay with people not liking you, um, and just all sorts of different things that is super beneficial, you know, for me. And I think it is a little bit toxic, like the hustle culture, you know.
Oh, for sure. And people can I seen this dude talking about it the other day where he's talking about like some women like and how a lot of pop and the TV and all this stuff will be like, I'm a boss bitch. Like he was referencing like Megan the Stallion and Cardi B and
Yeah.
how, to go to the club and be all powerful, like I don't know, and there's those different dynamics of, you know, living that kind of lifestyle, being like, yo, I'm a 10, I'm perfect, I'm the best I could be. And uh they were talking about self-improvement type stuff and how people they kind of contradict themselves, like I'm a 10, I'm perfect, I don't need to, but people need to self-improve. And it's like, well, if you're already perfect, how are you going to improve on yourself? And admitting that you're not perfect is like the
Hmm.
first step to self-improvement.
Right.
And this guy was saying, he's like, that's not really what you want though. You don't It's like, I don't believe that y'all want to be like always like hooking up with all these different guys and be like, yo, it's a one night stand, one night stand, one night stand. It's like, I
Hmm.
think that really deep down in your heart, you just want to have one person that like entirely loves you and wants to take care of you, and you wake up together and you build a life together. It's like, ultimately, I think that's what deep down inside you want. You're just caught
Yeah.
up in all these things that society makes you think is like a powerful lifestyle. And like you're saying, that hustle mentality of like, I'm the boss. And I've been that way too. And it's I can't remember exactly what I was gonna say.
I mean, I meant more hustle culture as far as like, you know, work 12-hour days and never stop grinding. And if you fucking take a nap, you're a pussy, you know, like that kind of hustle culture. Um, but that, I mean, that's real big in like the entrepreneur scene, you know, like, um, so that's kind of what I meant is by like, it's not bad to have a day job and just live a normal life and have a family and not be starting your own business and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a healthy balance. I seen Ben Shapiro talking about the importance of, balancing your family and work, because he's like, at the end of your life, you're not going to be thinking, I should have spent more time reviewing and filing those documents.
exactly.
You're going to
Yeah.
think, I should have spent more time with my family.
Yeah. I mean, there's like those deathbed interviews, you know, and that's one of people's biggest regrets is working too much. And I mean, that's kind of what I struggle with a lot too is I mean, because you know what it's like, and there's different types of people. I do think that there are people that definitely should do their own thing and start their own business, you know. Um, but you know what it's like just as an artist, you kind of have to have that time just to do nothing.
Oh, for sure. And I would feel guilty sometimes. I would get that anxiety while doing nothing. Be like, I should be
Hmm.
doing something right now. Like I should be working. Like,
Yeah.
but like you're saying, that rest and relaxation is so important to a healthy, mind and body, and just
Hmm.
even like the right hours of working. Because sometimes I would stay up all night in the
Yeah.
studio, and
Yeah.
it's like, is this really healthy? I don't
No.
know. No, I don't think so. Like, I felt so weird. I felt like a vampire. I'd
Hmm.
be up all night and sleep all day or whatever.
Right.
And especially in the faces of uh, addiction and depression, where it's, I don't want to see the sun.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think it's all those things of self-improvement, like you say, of just those little things. I
Mm-hmm.
had to force myself to be like, I'm gonna go outside
Right.
5 minutes and
Yep.
like stand in the sunlight out on the grass
Mm-hmm.
and throw the frisbee for my dog.
For sure.
And just to see how much that makes the dog happy,
Mm-hmm.
to just, like, yeah, you could be sleeping inside, chewing on a bone, whatever, but to go outside and play and wear you out, burn off that energy, like you're saying, go to work. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say now. I was like, what helped not cure my depression, but helped me deal with it again with like getting back to work and stuff. Getting back into construction work. Obviously, I do some other artistic work, but it wasn't filling my bank account more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
But what helped get my happiness back up was like that having a purpose.
Yeah.
Not just a purpose in the household, like being a father or a husband, but having a purpose in society
Yeah.
and be like, I'm contributing.
For sure. That's why I think people need to put it out there more that it is cool to have a day job. Like you're not just another cog in the wheel. I mean, you are kind of, but it's like you are fulfilling that purpose. Like it takes everybody, and if everybody was an entrepreneur starting their own blog or podcast or whatever, who is going to be a doctor and who's going to be a scientist and all that, like people do need these things that have been around forever, like jobs have been around forever, like I'm
Dude,
sure if like you had a family and you're just totally living off grid or whatever, like just plopped in some village and your mind was erased, like I'm sure you'd probably come up with jobs and dole them out and be like, okay, you need to do this and you need to do that, and it you know
yeah, dude. It just made me think. I once heard an interview with like, a successful, like well-known rapper. I think it was somebody in the South, like a southern, almost like southern rapper, not really like country rap totally, but down
mm-hmm.
that lane. And they're asking about the rap business and how good it is and how it is for yourself and others. And it's like, it's up and down. It ain't perfect. And he's like, and you don't think that there's some of these rappers that have well-known songs out there that ain't showing up on the job site and hanging drywall?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, there's tons. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that really had a shift in my mind where it's like, there's people out there you might not know. You might think that that's all they do is rap,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
it's not. They might work construction. They might have,
Yeah.
their other jobs. And it
Dude,
might
yeah.
be, like you say, a normal job, not just like, dude, they just get to like work from their house and do fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. I
they might
I
take
think
pride in taking care of their farm or something.
yep. Well, in that book that I was reading, and I want to share this synchronicity that I had. But he was talking about Pete Best, how he was the original drummer for the Beatles, and they kicked him out, and he was just super depressed about it for years, and then he basically just kind of, I mean, he'd still play music and stuff, but he kind of accepted that he wasn't going to be in the Beatles anymore and just got a normal job, got married and had 5 kids. And he was just like, yeah, getting kicked out of the Beatles was like the best thing that ever happened to me. And he just
Yeah.
had like a stable life and he was super happy and just had all these things that even the Beatles like were all struggling to have,
True that. Yeah, it's again, I was like, I don't know if you could say I was hypnotized by the TV or the magazines or whatever to want this celebrityism
Mm-hmm.
and to be an A-lister and to be revered by the world and on, you know, all, whatever, be on the
Yeah.
cover of Men's Health. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, but that's what I wanted to attain. Sometimes it was like I wanted to attain that. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. that
Like the
gosh,
results instead of the actual like.
yeah, and attaining this, what's the word? I know, s- not accolade, but attaining this. I don't know.
Like
Some I
identity or image.
Yeah, this like iconic thing.
I think
Becoming
accolades is a good word.
Yeah, and so I think that the media influenced me as a child and everything to be that, and it just never went
For
away
sure.
until recently, where I was like, you know what? That's not what the point of life is. The point of life isn't for me to work so hard that I become a celebrity.
Yeah.
It's just to, take care of my life. I
Hmm.
don't need to be a Hollywood movie star and win an Academy Award and
Yeah.
walk the red carpet. That's what I wanted for so
Right.
long. And to me, again, it came down to that validating and feeling loved, where it's like, mommy and daddy didn't love me enough, so now I want the whole world to love me or something.
Hmm.
Or I
I mean,
wasn't popular in high school, so I want to be the most popular internet celebrity now. I don't know.
right. Yeah. Um, well, the synchronicity I was gonna say was this the subtle art book. The author is Mark Manson, and just the other day at work, I was going through podcasts and I listened to um the Your Mom's House podcast with Tom Segura. But he's got this other podcast where he just does one-on-one interviews, and I've never listened to it and I've never even checked it out really. But the last one, the most recent one, was with Mark Manson, that author of that book. So I thought that was pretty cool,
Wait,
and
which book?
just the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Oh, nice. How's the book been, by the way?
Really good, man. Like I'm gonna have to like reread it a few times because some of the stuff that we're talking about, I'm like, oh yeah, there's that. Like I want to go grab it and like find that part because it's really relevant and for sure resonated with me a lot. Like I want to just get a whole bunch of them and send them to people, you know. I think you would like it a lot. Um
I'm stoked.
Dude, yeah. And I will reread it because some of these things is like I'm trying to say it, but I can't vocalize it, you know.
Before you tell me about the podcast, what you should do sometime, I would like to see you do sometime, just because it would interest me and it would help me out, is it like with your podcast? Like if you're reading that book and you like found some things and highlighted them and like, yo, I want to
Yeah,
tell you all some of these main point things in here that really I thought were awesome. Kind of a
for
book
sure.
review, kind of just self improvement. Like, yo, this is awesome. But tell me about
Yeah.
the podcast. You seen him on there?
Oh, I mean, that was just the synchronicity, was the fact that I just bought this book and then I go and check out this new podcast I never listened to, and the author was the most recent guest, you know.
Ha.
Um,
The
but
algorithms, man. No, but
for
yeah,
sure.
I don't know, the universe too. Like,
Yeah, yeah, like, you know, and just the fact that like I've heard about that book forever and I never even thought to like seek it out or anything. And then,
so
I
that's
start,
kind of the stoic stuff a bit.
I mean,
Or not
there
totally.
it is kind of because, Stoicism is really about that um, and the kind of the main point of the book is like, it's not bad to care. It's just based on your values, you're caring about the wrong things. So if you find yourself caring about what other people think too much, it's because you have a shitty value based on popularity. Like how much do you
Oh,
really value popularity?
like
And
enough
it
to get wasted, where you're like, I don't
right.
really want to get drunk because I know it's bad for my health and it turns me into a psychopath, but I want to fit in. And if I don't drink with this group of people, they're going to think I'm weird.
Yeah, or yeah, that's kind of what it is like kind of deconstructing something that you're finding yourself giving a fuck about, figuring out why and what like value that's based on. And like you said, fitting in, it's like is that really a value you want to have? And if it is, like, why is that? Or is there a more healthy way to do that or whatever? Um, but that, I think that was my favorite part about it was, um, like the values part, you know, and like just kind of the most important values. Like one was honesty. You know, honesty is a great value to have. Family, you know, just all these important things that um you really should value, and the things that you care about too much, like what other people think of you, because that was big for me. You know, it's like wanting everybody to like me, you know.
Yeah, me too. And sometimes I made sacrifices to do things I thought people would like me that ultimately didn't even matter because it was like they're not here today. They're not. I don't talk with these people. I don't. They probably they might not even care about the well-being of me and my family. But
Yeah,
you know, I'm actually gonna get back to my family now. They got home a little bit ago.
word.
And I care about this podcast. I care
For
about you,
sure.
bro.
Likewise, bro.
And
It's been a good one.
fucking love you like a brother.
Love you too, brother.
Pound it.
Boom.
I
Hell
hate
yeah. Oh,
that, dude. That's like that tattoo's so lame. I don't know. I'm like the first tattoo I get, my name.
right.
Sometimes, sometimes I'm like, dude, I want to get something else.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't even know what I could get to cover it up.
I mean, I'm sure a good tattoo artist could do something.
Well,
Turn
what I
each one into a
was,
symbol or something.
yeah, I one time I was thinking about getting Jesus face on this hand,
Mm-hmm.
and then God on this hand. It would probably look like Zeus or something.
Right.
Had a lot of different thoughts. I was thinking like a sun and a moon,
Yep.
or just some like space type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But or I thought about getting like Jimi Hendrix and Kurt Cobain, or I don't
That's
know.
idolatry.
Probably they'd say that about Jesus too.
I
Yeah,
was I was gonna say that when you were saying that, like, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't even be cool with being idolized and worshipped like that, you know.
dude. I know.
I'm
I've
pretty
always
sure.
thought that about even like I thought that about the cross too, where I was like, I don't know, like how we would feel about it. And I battled with it because I was like, would he feel good about all these people, like in the images of him on the cross? Or would he feel good about it? Or because he went through that suffering? Or would he feel good about it because of what the meaning behind that suffering was? And,
Yeah.
like the outcome of it? I don't know. But it's one of those things, I guess it's like there's a stigma
Mm-hmm.
behind it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's again one of my reasons I went with the whole like crossroads
Yeah.
thing with was I don't know. I don't know what it is. I was always like I said, the crossroads, the old movie, Deal with the Devil at the Crossroads, or Finding Redemption at the Crossroads. But ultimately, it's like I actually look at the crossroads as an infinity sign.
Mm-hmm.
So where it's like, yeah, no matter what, like you go along
That's
this
pretty cool.
you go along this path in life, and then you just end right back up at the crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna go down this path, and then you end up right back. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um, one thing I was listening to Duncan Trussell, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was his meditation teacher, but he was saying about the podcast that they do together. Um, he's like, yeah, we start at zero and end at zero, just
Mm,
because when they start the podcast, they don't really know what they're going to talk about. And then when they end the podcast, it's just kind of ending up back where you were, you know, and just made me think of this because, you know, before we started the podcast, we're talking about like having certain topics and stuff we wanted to talk about. But, you know, this is a fucking 3-hour podcast, and it's kind of the same thing, you know. We just start from nowhere, you know, and just fucking get into it.
And that's why I want to be able to chop it up more, because I'm like, there's so many little things. Like you could chop out 15 minutes here that's one whole topic. It's a
Mm-hmm.
half hour here that's one whole topic. And that's
Yep.
what I think eventually, when people like discover us more, that are
Yeah.
attracted to the similar things that, and once I chop them, like maybe one day when I'm on a lull or something, I'll be like, or now that I'm on a Ritalin basically, and I'll be able to focus. Hopefully, I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be able to work. Where I'll be like, you know what? Now I will be able to go in to this podcast and chop out these things more
Yep.
simply. Because sometimes I'd sit down at the computer and be like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Then I have YouTube going on over on this screen over here. Because I got like
Mm-hmm.
3 screens right here.
Right.
So I'll be like, I'm working on something here. I'm watching something over here. I'm doing something over here, and then I'll be surfing over here. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, dude, I can't think right now. I'm so like, I'm consuming too many things at once, and I'm trying to put my energy into all these different things at once, when I just like, I could just put all that energy into one thing,
Mm-hmm.
get it done.
Yep.
But work on these things through time, and you know, I don't know.
For sure, man.
But
I think it's
next time should be cool. We'll try the
definitely.
different setup.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. If anybody is crazy enough to sit through this to the end, expect the next podcast to be a little different, because we're going to try something else, just as far as the production value and smoothing things out, being able to have those different cuts and intro song on point and all that.
Yeah, dude, the cuts, like you're saying, if it goes from me to you, I think that'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely help with the YouTube stuff, because
Yeah.
it just keeps people's attention more. And
Yep. And like I said, like if we had to take a 3-hour podcast, I don't know how long this one's been, but
probably
if
about
we had
that.
yeah, if we had to take a 3-hour podcast and then put it in Premiere and then chop it up and do all those things, like it would take so long. But just to be able to do it as we're recording it, you know, cut out a lot of time.
Yeah,
I'm
I
stoked.
wish, what I want to be able to do is just, I need to write things down when we're doing these, like time marker, time stamp at this from this. We talked about this. So I can
Mm-hmm.
go in later and be like, I'm just going to chop out the sections of audio production, talk about the bad dreams, talk about the self improvement, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Next time will
Yep.
be better. And,
Mm-hmm.
we just keep getting better. We're almost to number 69.
Yep. Can't
So,
wait.
yeah, bro. All right, homie. Well, I'm going to get back.
For
You have a good rest of your night.
sure, bro. I sure will.
All right. That Aaliyah shirt is dope.
Yep. Rest in peace to the goat.
Rest in peace.
All right, brother.
All right. Have a good weekend.
For sure. You too, bro.
Thank you.
Peace.
Later.